That's how it started. A harsh line at a church brunch. Then the ground shook. A rescue chopper dropped in, and the loser she mocked? He was the pilot, calm, brave, raising a little girl who draws blue hearts when she's scared. In 1 minute, her world flips. A county trying to shut his life-saving flights, rich folks pushing to take the child, and a secret from her past that could wreck everything. She wants to make it right, show up, roll up sleeves, fight for the kid in the sky. But rumors spread, a video goes viral, and the law comes knocking. When the storm hits and the sirens call, who will this town believe, the noise or the truth? And will one broken sentence cost a child her home, or spark a second chance that saves them all? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun poured through the tall windows of Seabrook Community Church's Fellowship Hall, casting golden squares across the linoleum floor. Coffee percolated in 3 different pots: regular, decaf, and what Mrs. Dottie Reeves called her special brew that could wake the dead. The air hung thick with the smell of bacon quiche and banana bread. Ronnie Dale smoothed her coral blazer for the 3rd time. She'd picked it specifically for this morning. Not too formal, not too casual, professional, but approachable. At least that's what she'd told herself while standing in front of her bedroom mirror at 6:30 this morning. "More coffee, hun?" Mrs. Reeves appeared at her elbow with a steaming carafe. "I'm fine, thank you." Ronnie's cup was still full from her last refill 10 minutes ago. The fellowship hall buzzed with conversation. Groups of 2 and 3 clustered around the buffet table, where someone had arranged fruit kebabs in a rainbow pattern. Near the window, a man with silver temples helped a small girl reach the juice pitcher. That's Ethan Brooks. Pastor Lila materialized beside Ronnie, her voice warm as fresh bread. Lost his daughter 2 years back. He's raising little Maya now. The child wore a purple dress with yellow flowers. Her hair was done up in 2 neat puffs, secured with matching ribbons. She clutched a worn sketchbook against her chest. "Ethan flew helicopters in the Army," Pastor Lila continued. "Medevac. Pulled wounded soldiers out of some terrible places. Now he does the same thing here for our county." Ronnie watched the man pour orange juice into a plastic cup, careful not to spill. His flannel shirt was pressed but soft from many washings. Work boots, clean but scuffed. Not trying to impress anyone. "Come on." Pastor Lila's hand found Ronnie's elbow. "Let me introduce you." "Oh, I don't think—" But Pastor Lila was already steering her across the room. Ronnie's heels clicked against the floor, too loud in her own ears. "Ethan, I'd like you to meet Veronica Dale. She stages homes for Coastal Premier Realty." Ethan turned. His eyes were the color of storm clouds, kind but tired. He shifted Maya's juice to his left hand and extended his right. "Nice to meet you, ma'am." His handshake was firm, calluses rough against her palm. Ronnie pulled back too quickly. "This is my granddaughter, Maya." The little girl looked up with curious eyes. She had her grandfather's careful way of watching, taking everything in before speaking. "Hi," Maya said softly. "Hello?" Ronnie's voice came out tighter than intended. An awkward beat passed. Someone dropped a spoon at the buffet table, the clatter sharp as breaking glass. "Ronnie's been coming to our church for about a year now." Pastor Lila filled the silence. "She did that beautiful arrangement for the Easter service, remember? All those lilies?" "That was real nice," Ethan said. From across the room, Betty Morrison's voice carried like a crow's caw. "Ronnie? There you are. Any luck with the singles scene?" The older woman waggled her eyebrows. "Plenty of eligible men here today?" Heat crawled up Ronnie's neck. Several heads turned their way. She could feel their eyes, their assumptions, their pity for the 56-year-old woman still looking for love at a church brunch. "I'm not—" She started to explain, but Betty kept going. "What about him?" Betty pointed directly at Ethan with her coffee stirrer. "He's handsome enough." The room seemed to shrink. Ronnie's chest tightened. She could hear her mother's voice, sharp as winter wind. "Don't settle, Veronica. Don't end up like me, trapped with someone beneath you." Maya tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Pop, can I get a muffin?" "Sure, sweetheart." But Betty wasn't done. "Oh, come on, Ronnie. Give the man a chance. So what if he's got a kid? You're not getting any younger." The words erupted before Ronnie could stop them, loud and harsh as a slap. "I don't date losers with kids." The fellowship hall went silent. Even the coffee pot seemed to stop their bubbling. Maya's juice cup slipped from her small fingers, orange liquid splashing across the floor. Her eyes went wide, that particular shine that comes right before tears. Ethan's expression didn't change. Not exactly, but something shifted behind his eyes, like a door closing soft but final. He bent down, picked up the plastic cup, and took Maya's hand. "Come on, baby girl. Let's get you cleaned up." He nodded once to Pastor Lila. "Ma'am." Then to Ronnie that same quiet nod. No anger, no defense. Just dignity wrapped in flannel and worn denim. They walked toward the kitchen, Maya's purple dress spotted with orange, her sketchbook still clutched tight. At the doorway, she looked back over her shoulder, not at Ronnie, at the spilled juice spreading across the floor like shame. The silence stretched until Mrs. Reeves dropped her carafe. It didn't break, just bounced once and rolled, coffee spreading in a dark river toward Ronnie's coral pumps. Ronnie's voice cracked. "I didn't mean—" But what hadn't she meant? The words, the volume, the cruelty of it? Pastor Lila's hand was still on her elbow, but gentle now, like she was holding something broken. "Oh, honey," was all she said. Ronnie pulled away, her heels slipping in the spilled coffee as she rushed toward the hallway. Behind her, the whispers started, soft at first, then building like wind before a storm. Did she really just say that? That poor little girl? Ethan Brooks, of all people! The hallway was cooler, darker. Ronnie pressed her back against the wall, coral blazer catching on the rough paint. Her hands shook as she pressed them to her face. Through the wall she could hear the fellowship hall slowly returning to life. Forks against plates, careful conversation. But underneath it all, the echo of her own voice, sharp and ugly as broken glass. "I don't date losers with kids." The thunder started low, a vibration Ronnie felt in her chest before she heard it. Through the hallway window she watched paper plates lift from picnic tables, like white birds taking flight. The sound grew, mechanical and urgent. Not thunder at all. A helicopter. Children pressed their faces against the fellowship hall windows. Their delighted screams pierced the morning as a white and blue aircraft descended toward the ball field, mercy wings painted bold across its side. The rotor wash bent the dogwoods nearly horizontal, sent the banner reading, "Singles, Brunch, and Fellowship," whipping loose from its moorings. "Everyone stay back." Betty Morrison's nephew, a volunteer firefighter, rushed forward with his arms spread wide. "Give them room." Through the chaos, Ronnie saw him. Ethan Brooks emerged from the kitchen side door, Maya's hand still in his. But his whole bearing had changed. Gone was the quiet grandfather in worn flannel. His movements turned precise, economical. He knelt before Maya, cupped her face in those calloused hands, and spoke words Ronnie couldn't hear over the rotors. Maya nodded, brave and solemn. Pastor Lila appeared, gathering the child against her hip. Ethan stood. From somewhere, his truck maybe, he'd grabbed a navy vest with reflective strips. Pilot blazed across the back in silver letters. He clipped a radio to his belt, checked his watch, and broke into a steady jog toward the helicopter. The truth hit Ronnie like cold water. The loser with a kid she'd scorned in front of everyone was walking toward that aircraft not as a passenger, but as crew. "No." The word tore from her throat. "No, wait." She stumbled forward, coral pumps sinking into the grass still wet with morning dew. The security tape a volunteer had strung up caught her at hip level. "Ma'am, you need to stay." "Please." She ducked under the tape, nearly falling. "I have to... Please, just let me..." The young volunteer looked uncertain, but Ronnie was already running in heels across a field while a helicopter's downdraft whipped her carefully styled hair into chaos. "Mr. Brooks, Ethan, please." He was almost to the aircraft. A crew member in a flight suit reached down from the open door. "Wait." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He paused, turned. The rotor wash between them made the air shimmer like heat off asphalt. Ronnie stumbled closer, had to shout over the noise. "I didn't know." "I didn't..." "That's not an excuse, I know it's not, but please, I'm sorry. What I said was cruel and wrong and..." His expression remained steady, unreadable, behind aviator sunglasses he'd pulled from his vest pocket. "Please, just 30 seconds. Let me apologize properly." Ethan glanced back toward the fellowship hall, toward Maya, small in Pastor Lila's arms, watching everything. When he looked at Ronnie again, his words cut through the mechanical roar with pilot's clarity. "Kids are listening." That was all. No anger, no forgiveness, just truth, simple and devastating. He turned, grabbed the crew member's offered hand, and swung up into the helicopter with practiced ease. Through the open door, Ronnie glimpsed medical equipment, monitors, another figure in flight gear already working over radios and charts. The crew member, a compact Asian man with C. Nguyen on his vest, pulled the door partially closed but leaned out, making rapid hand signals to someone near the church. All clear, ready for departure. The engine pitch changed, climbing toward the takeoff. Ronnie stood frozen in the hurricane of dust and noise, her coral blazer whipping around her, her hair lashing her face. The helicopter rose, steady and sure, banking east toward the coast, toward someone who needed saving. She watched until it became a speck against the morning sky, then nothing at all. The field fell quiet except for the excited chatter of children and the rustle of settling debris. Napkins drifted down like snow. The church banner lay twisted in the dogwoods. Ronnie's knees buckled. She sank into the grass, not caring about her linen skirt, the mud, the people watching from the fellowship hall windows. "Oh, honey," Pastor Lila's voice, close now. A warm hand on her shoulder. "Come on, let's get you up." "He's a pilot," Ronnie's voice came out raw. "A rescue pilot." "Yes." "And I called him..." She couldn't finish. "I know." In front of his granddaughter. "Yes." Pastor Lila helped her stand. Ronnie's pumps were ruined, grass-stained and torn. Her blazer hung askew. She looked back toward the fellowship hall, where faces still pressed against glass. Where Maya stood, small and watchful. "The little girl, is she..." "She'll be okay." Ethan's raised her strong. Pastor Lila's voice carried gentle correction. Stronger than she should have to be at 8. The weight of it all, the cruelty of her words, the dignity of his response, the helicopter she'd watched carry him away to save lives while she stood in her designer outfit judging him, pressed down, until Ronnie could barely breathe. "What have I done?" Pastor Lila didn't answer immediately. When she did, her words were soft but clear, carrying across the field like a benediction or a challenge. "The question is, what will you do now?" The afternoon sun slanted through Pastor Lila's office windows, catching dust motes that drifted like tiny prayers. Ronnie sat rigid in the worn leather chair, her ruined pumps replaced with flats from her car, her coral blazer folded in her lap like shame-made fabric. Decorated Army medevac pilot. Pastor Lila's voice carried the weight of a judge reading charges. Bronze Star with Valor, Distinguished Flying Cross, pulled 17 soldiers from a hot zone under fire outside Kandahar. Each word landed like a stone in Ronnie's chest. Co-founded Mercy Wings 4 years ago with his own savings and VA disability. No salary for himself the first 2 years, just flew, just saved lives. "Pastor, I dash. His daughter Rachel died in a car accident 3 years ago, 26 years old. Her husband's parents, the Carringtons, You might know them. Big house on Magnolia. They wanted nothing to do with Maya. Called her complicated. You understand what that means? Ronnie's stomach turned. She understood exactly what coded language sounded like. So Ethan stepped up. 52 years old, widowed, still grieving his daughter. And he became everything to that little girl. School pickups, homework help, braiding hair. You ever see a combat veteran YouTube tutorial videos on cornrows at midnight? Please stop. The words came out broken. No, honey. You need to hear this. That man you called a loser in front of 40 people, in front of his granddaughter, he's flown 237 rescue missions for this county. Heart attacks, drownings, car wrecks. Mrs. Henderson's grandson, the one who fell off the pier last summer, Ethan's crew got him to trauma in 12 minutes. Boys walking today because of that loser. Ronnie's carefully maintained composure shattered. The tears came hard and ugly, streaking mascara down cheeks she'd powdered that morning when appearance still mattered more than truth. I'm poison. The confession ripped out between sobs. My whole life I've been poison. My mother taught me to marry up or be nothing. My first husband left me after my miscarriage, said single moms and broken women were baggage he didn't need. So I became someone who'd never be left again, someone shiny, someone better than everyone else. Pastor Lila moved around the desk, handed her tissues. Except I'm not better. I'm just cruel. Cruel and empty and so terrified of being seen as less than that I became exactly what I feared, worthless. That's your shame talking, not God's truth. How do I fix this? Ronnie lifted her head, mascara-stained and desperate. How do I make amends to someone I wounded in front of his child? Pastor Lila studied her for a long moment. You start by showing up. Not with words, with actions. Consistent, humble actions. Where? They'll be back at the hospital helipad by 6. They always debrief there after difficult flights. The hospital helipad perched on a rise overlooking the harbor, painted with a massive yellow H that glowed in evening light. Ronnie arrived at 5:45 with a foil-covered casserole still warm from her oven and an envelope containing every dollar from her savings she could withdraw that afternoon, $3,000 for Mercy Wings. She waited by the chain-link fence, watching the sun sink toward the water. Other people came and went, nurses ending shifts, families heading to the parking garage, but she stayed. The casserole grew cold. Her feet ached in the sensible flats. At 6:17, she heard it, the distant thrum that built to thunder. The helicopter approached from the north, silhouetted against clouds tinged pink and gold. It circled once, descended with mechanical grace, and settled onto the pad like a tired bird. The rotor slowed, wound down to silence. 3 figures emerged. The compact man she'd seen earlier, Nguyen, the flight nurse, a younger woman in scrubs, and Ethan, moving with the particular exhaustion of someone who'd wrestled death and won, but just barely. He saw her at the fence, stopped, said something to his crew, who glanced her way before heading inside. He walked over slowly, pulling off his flight gloves finger by finger. Up close, she could see the mission's weight in the lines around his eyes, the sweat still drying at his temples. Miss Dale. I brought dinner. She lifted the casserole like an offering. And this, for Mercy Wings. The envelope trembled in her grip. He accepted both through the fence gap, careful not to let their fingers touch. That's kind. Thank you. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. Ma'am? Ronnie, please. He nodded. Ronnie, I appreciate the gesture. Behind him, a small figure emerged from the building. Maya, wearing a purple backpack covered in butterfly patches, her hair in 2 neat buns decorated with yellow ribbons. Grandpa, Miss Ortiz let me color in her office and... She stopped, seeing Ronnie. Hey, baby girl. Ethan's voice softened completely. This is Miss Dale from church. Maya studied her with solemn brown eyes. Then she unzipped her backpack, pulled out a folded paper, and approached the fence. I made this. She pushed the paper through. Ronnie unfolded it carefully. Blue hearts covered the page, dozens of them in different shades of crayon blue. Sky blue, navy, turquoise, powder blue. In the corner, Maya had written in careful first-grade letters, "Blue equals safe." "Blue means safe," Maya explained quietly, "like the lights on Grandpa's helicopter when they land. Like the ocean when it's calm, like feeling okay even when things are scary." Ronnie's vision blurred. This child, this beautiful, generous child she'd wounded with her careless cruelty, stood here offering her the very thing she'd never felt. Safety through tears, she saw Ethan's hand rest protective on Maya's shoulder. "Thank you," her voice cracked. "It's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever given me." Maya smiled, small but real. "You can keep it, for when you need to remember." They left soon after, Ethan carrying the casserole, Maya skipping ahead toward an old pickup truck. Ronnie stayed at the fence, holding the paper like a promise, watching their taillights disappear into gathering dusk. She'd broken something precious that morning, but maybe she could build something better from the pieces. The open house at 43 Magnolia Drive should have been simple. Crown molding to highlight, fresh flowers on the mantel, vanilla candles in every room. Ronnie had staged hundreds of homes, could arrange furniture in her sleep, but her hands shook as she fluffed cushions. Maya's blue hearts stayed folded in her pocket, crinkling every time she moved. By 3 o'clock, she gave up pretending to work, left the house key with her assistant, and drove without destination until she found herself at the industrial end of Harbor Road, where the Mercy Wings hangar squatted beside rusted shipping containers. The bay doors stood open. Inside, volunteers knelt around the helicopter, polishing its white flanks. An older woman with steel gray curls supervised from a folding chair, pointing her cane at spots they'd missed. "You missed the belly panel, Clarence? Don't make me get up." Ronnie recognized her from church, Mrs. Dottie Reeves, who ran the VFW auxiliary like a benevolent dictator. "Can I help?" Dottie's eyes narrowed. "You're the one with the mouth from yesterday." "Yes." "Humph. Buckets over there. We don't use fancy cleaners, just Murphy's oil soap and elbow grease." Ronnie hadn't scrubbed floors since her mother cleaned office buildings when she was 12. Her knees protested against the concrete. The soap stung a paper cut she hadn't noticed, but she worked in silence, watching how the others moved around the aircraft with reverence, like tending something holy. Ethan arrived at 4, Maya riding his shoulders. He stopped short, seeing Ronnie on her hands and knees, her designer jeans soaked with suds. "Grandpa, look! Miss Dale is helping." He lifted Maya down carefully. "I see that baby girl." For the next hour they worked in parallel, Ethan checking equipment while Ronnie scrubbed. Maya drew at a card table, humming. The hangar filled with easy conversation, stories of past rescues, gentle teasing between the volunteers. Clarence, a Vietnam vet with arms like bridge cables, taught Ronnie how to clean the landing skids properly. "Can't have dirt where we're going. Every gram counts when you're fighting physics." Mepchin. The afternoon light slanted gold through the bay doors. Ronnie's back ached, her manicure was ruined, and she felt more useful than she had in years. Then Dottie's cane clattered against concrete. "Ethan, door." A white envelope fluttered from the hangar door, held by industrial tape. The county seal showed through the paper. Ethan pulled it down, read in silence. His jaw tightened with each line. "What is it?" Caleb Nguyen emerged from the supply closet. "Lease revocation hearing. 30 days. Ethan's voice stayed level, but his knuckles went white around the paper. "Noise complaints, liability concerns, recommendation to relocate operations outside county limits." "That's 40 miles minimum," Caleb said. "We'd lose half our response time." "We'd lose lives." Ethan folded the letter precisely. "The board meets Thursday." Dottie snorted. "Noise complaints my rear end. We've been here 6 years without a single formal complaint. Someone's pulling strings." The volunteers gathered, voices rising in outrage. But Ethan just stood there, staring at the helicopter like it might disappear. "We'll fight it," Clarence said. "Get everyone who's ever needed Mercy Wings to show up. Pack that meeting." "Grandpa?" Maya tugged his sleeve. "Are we going home?" "Yeah, baby girl, let's go home." Their house sat modest and tidy on a tree-lined street, the kind of neighborhood where kids still rode bikes and neighbors shared tomatoes over back fences. Ronnie followed in her car. She'd promised Maya help with a school project about butterflies. While Maya gathered construction paper and safety scissors, Ethan sorted mail at the kitchen table. Bills, flyers, a thank you card from someone Mercy Wings had helped. Then a thick envelope with a law firm's return address. He opened it slowly, read again. The paper crumpled in his fist. "Grandpa?" Maya looked up from her butterflies. "Keep working, sweetheart. I'll be right back." He walked to the back porch. Through the window, Ronnie watched him brace both hands against the railing, head bowed. She found him there 5 minutes later, the letter smoothed out beside him. "Emergency custody petition," he said without looking up. "The Carringtons, Maya's father's parents." Ronnie scanned the legal language. Unsafe environment, exposure to trauma through rescue work, lack of cultural opportunities, better served in a refined setting. They never wanted her when Rachel died. Too complicated, they said. Mixed-race grandchild didn't fit their country club image. His voice stayed flat, controlled. Now, suddenly they care about her welfare. This is connected to the helipad issue. Has to be. The Carringtons golf with half the county board. Through the kitchen window, they could see Maya bent over her project, tongue poking out in concentration as she cut butterfly wings. "She's all I have left of Rachel." The words came quiet, raw. "I promised I'd keep her safe, give her a good life." "You have? You are." "Am I?" Dragging her to the hangar, exposing her to emergency calls. Maybe they're right. Maybe she deserves more than what I can give. "Stop." Ronnie surprised herself with the sharpness. "I saw her yesterday. That child feels safer with you than I've ever felt with anyone. That's not nothing. That's everything." He finally looked at her. "You don't even know us." "I know cruelty when I see it. And I know love." She touched the pocket where Maya's drawing rested. "Blue means safe, remember?" She chose that color for a reason. From inside came Maya's voice. "Grandpa?" "I need help with the antennae." Ethan straightened, gathered the letter. "I should, go. I'll clean up out here." She watched him return to his granddaughter, patient hands helping position pipe cleaners just right. 2 battles now, the helipad that saved lives and the little girl who gave his life meaning. Both under siege by people who mistook money for merit. Ronnie pulled out her phone, scrolled through her contacts. She'd spent years cultivating connections, trading favors, building social capital she'd never really used. Time to cash in. Monday's dawn came gray and uncertain, fog pooling in the valleys like doubt. The Mercy Wings helicopter sat on the pad, rotors still, waiting. "Could be our last one," Caleb said, checking equipment with practiced hands. Ethan didn't answer. He'd been up since 4, reviewing flight logs, maintenance records, anything the board might question. Maya slept in the crew room, wrapped in his flight jacket. A car door slammed. Ronnie appeared through the mist carrying a cardboard box that smelled of bacon and coffee. "Breakfast sandwiches." "Made them myself." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "The real estate lady cooks?" "The real estate lady does lots of things." She set the box on the equipment bench, including learning when to show up. The pager screamed. Multi-vehicle accident on Route 47, entrapment, critical injuries. Ethan was moving before the details finished coming through. "Maya." "I'll stay with her," Ronnie said. He hesitated 1 heartbeat, then nodded. The rotors spun up, scattering morning mist like scattered prayers. Maya woke to the fading thrum of helicopter blades. She found Ronnie in the break room, sorting through a box of crayons someone had donated. "Where's Grandpa?" "Helping people. He'll be back soon." Maya studied her, head tilted. "You're the lady who said the mean thing." Heat flooded Ronnie's face. "Yes." "Gee." "Why?" Such a simple question, such complicated answers. I was scared. "Of Grandpa?" Maya's nose wrinkled. "He doesn't even yell." "Not of him, of feeling things, of being hurt." Maya considered this, selected a yellow crayon. "I get scared too. When the helicopter goes up, I count. If I get to 1,000 and he's not back, I draw blue hearts until he is." "Does it work?" "Every time." She pushed paper across the table. "Want to help?" They colored in companionable silence, Maya chattering about her friend Destiny's new puppy, how Mrs. Chen let them read extra library books, why butterflies were actually cooler than moths, even though moths had fuzzy antennae. Ronnie found herself listening, really listening, to this child she'd dismissed with cruel words just yesterday. 512, Maya said suddenly. 513. The helicopter appeared over the tree line, descending through wisps of fog. They rushed outside as it settled, Ethan climbing down weary but whole. 3 news vans waited in the parking lot. "Mr. Brooks, how do you respond to complaints about noise pollution? Isn't it true you've had several dangerous landings? What about the environmental impact?" Commissioner Harlan stood beside the reporters, arms crossed, wearing his public face, the one that calculated votes before conscience. "Commissioner," Ethan said quietly, "your brother sends his regards." Harlan's jaw tightened. 6 months ago, Mercy Wings had pulled his brother from a crushed sedan, flown him to trauma care in time to save his legs. The commissioner looked away. "The board meets Thursday. You'll have 5 minutes to present your case." 5 minutes. 6 years of service, hundreds of lives, and we get 5 minutes. It's all I could negotiate. For a moment, something human flickered in Harlan's eyes, then the camera swung toward him, and the mask returned. "The county has to balance all interests." Ethan took Maya's hand. "Come on, baby girl. Let's go home." Their kitchen table was scarred oak, bought secondhand and refinished by Ethan's own hands. He heated beans on the stove, cornbread warming in the oven. Simple food, filling food. Ronnie hadn't been invited exactly, but hadn't been turned away either. "I can help with dinner." "You've done enough." He stirred the beans back to her. "Good enough, I mean. Thank you for staying with Maya." She watched him move through the small kitchen with economy born of practice. Everything clean, orderly, but worn. Photos covered the refrigerator. Maya's school pictures, a younger woman who must be Rachel Ethan in army dress uniform. "She's a special kid," Ronnie said. "Gets it from her mother." He set 3 plates on the table. Rachel was... She saw the best in everyone, even when they didn't deserve it. The cornbread came out golden. Maya appeared from her room with homework, spreading worksheets between the plates like this was routine, normal, home. "Mr. Thompson says we have to write about our heroes," Maya announced. "I'm writing about Grandpa." "Pick someone interesting, sweetheart." "You are interesting. You fly helicopters and save people and make the best cornbread, and you never miss my bedtime song, even when you're tired." Ethan's hand stilled on his water glass. "What if they take her?" The words came sudden, raw. The Carringtons have lawyers, money, connections. They can give her things, private schools, vacations, opportunities. What do I have? A 3-bedroom ranch and a job they're trying to eliminate. "You have love," Ronnie said. "Love doesn't pay for college. Love doesn't open doors." "Depends on the door?" Maya had gone quiet, beans forgotten on her fork. Ethan pulled her close. "Sorry, baby girl." "Grown-up worries. Are the grandparents coming?" "We'll see." The phone rang. Caleb's voice came tight through the speaker. "Board meeting's been moved." Tomorrow, not Thursday. And Ethan, The Carringtons have 3 lawyers there. They're pushing hard for immediate action on both fronts. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly. Ethan stood at the sink, shoulders rigid. Maya hummed something low and uncertain. Ronnie looked at them in the lamplight, grandfather and granddaughter, holding on while the world tried to tear them apart. Not a loser. Never that. Just a man carrying weight that would break most people, doing it with grace she'd never learned. "Lord," she whispered, so soft only she could hear, "let me help." Dawn came gray through the hangar windows. Ethan ran his palm along the helicopter's hull, checking rivets by touch the way cavalry soldiers once checked horseshoes. Maya sat cross-legged in the office, spooning cereal while drawing helicopters with rainbow rotors. Morning ritual? Ronnie stood in the doorway wearing jeans, actual jeans, and sneakers that still had the price tag tucked inside. Her usual armor of designer clothes gone, replaced by a Seabrook-high sweatshirt she'd clearly borrowed from someone. Every flight starts with a walk around. Ethan didn't look up from his inspection. Habit from the Army. Check everything twice, trust it once. Need help? You know helicopters? I know floors. She held up a mop bucket. Figured the hangar could use it. The concrete hadn't been properly cleaned in months. Oil stains, boot marks, the accumulated grime of saving lives without time for anything else. Ethan watched her fill the bucket from the utility sink. No hesitation now, no performance. Water's hot on the left, he started. Found it. By 8, others arrived. Dottie Reeves from the VFW Auxiliary wheeled in a cart of paint cans. Her husband Frank and 3 other veterans behind her with brushes and drop cloths. Beige? Frank held up a can. Really, Dot? It's called accessible beige. The nice boy at Lowe's said it hides everything and makes spaces look bigger. It's a helicopter hangar, not a living room. You want to help or complain? The veterans got to work, trading war stories and lies while they rolled paint. 2 church ladies arrived with thermoses of soup and sandwich fixings. Then teenagers from the youth group, arms full of poster board and markers. "We're making signs," announced a girl with purple-streaked hair. "Save Mercy Wings. Mr. Brooks saved my uncle last year." The hangar filled. What started as scattered help became something else, a rhythm, a purpose. Ronnie pushed the mop across concrete, her manicured nails already chipped, sweat darkening the borrowed sweatshirt. When she dumped the dirty water and started fresh, Dottie whistled. "Look at Fancy Pants getting her hands dirty." "They're just hands," Ronnie said. "That's new." The accusation stung because it was true. Ronnie had spent decades keeping her hands clean, protected, separate from anything that might mark her as common. But here, wringing the mop, she found unexpected freedom. No one cared about her staging awards or client list. They worked, so she worked. "You missed a spot," called one of the teenagers. "Where?" "Everywhere." Laughter rippled through the hangar. Real laughter, not the polite chuckles of networking events. Ronnie laughed too, surprising herself with how it felt. Loose, unguarded. Ethan appeared beside her with bottled water. "You don't have to do this. Neither do they." She gestured at the volunteers. "But here we are." He watched her return to mopping, putting her weight behind it now, learning the rhythm. Strange to see her this way. The woman who'd scorned him working beside him, no audience except people who already knew the worst things she'd said. The sun set orange through the open hangar doors. Volunteers packed up, leaving behind fresh paint, clean floors, and neat stacks of flyers. Maya had made friends with the purple-haired teenager, both of them covered in marker stains. Ronnie's body ached in places she'd forgotten existed. She sat on a crate, peeling off work gloves that belonged to someone else. "Coffee?" Pastor Lila appeared with 2 cups. "You look like you need it." "I look like I lost a fight with a mop." "You look like someone working something out." They walked outside where the evening was soft and cooling. Pastor Lila led them to a bench overlooking the parking lot, now empty except for their 2 cars. I wasn't always like this, Ronnie said. Well, cruel, I mean. Judgmental. Tell me. The story came in pieces. The first marriage at 22 to a man who'd seemed sophisticated, successful. The pregnancy at 25, unexpected, but wanted. The miscarriage at 14 weeks. Her husband standing in the hospital doorway saying he was relieved, actually, because single moms are just baggage, and he didn't want to be tied down if things didn't work out between them. Things didn't work out, Ronnie said. He left 6 months later for someone younger, someone without what he called complications. That must have broken you. It reformed me. Wrong word. Deformed me. I spent the next 30 years proving I wasn't baggage, that I was valuable, successful, above all that pain, but really I just became him, didn't I? Looking at Ethan and Maya and seeing burden instead of blessing. Pastor Lila took her hand. You see it now, though? Too late. Grace doesn't run on our timeline. What if they don't forgive me? Maya already has. Children do that. Ethan, he's careful with trust, but he sees you here, doing the work. That matters. The drive home took Ethan past Franklin Street, then Magnolia, then Oak. Yellow ribbons appeared on mailboxes. First one, then 3, then dozens. Someone had tied them around the old lampposts downtown. The gas station reader board said, "Save Mercy Wings," where prices usually went. Look, Grandpa. Maya pressed her nose to the window. It's like when Daddy deployed and everyone put up yellow ribbons for the soldiers. You remember that? Mom showed me pictures. She said yellow means waiting for someone to come home. She was quiet for a moment. Are we waiting? For what, baby girl? For things to be okay again. He pulled into their driveway, where Mrs. Chen from next door was tying a yellow ribbon to their own mailbox. She waved, called out, "Board meeting tomorrow." We'll be there. Inside, while Maya brushed her teeth, Ethan stood at her doorway watching their neighborhood through her window. Porch lights were coming on, regular people ending regular days. But the ribbons made it different somehow, made it theirs. Ready for your song? He asked when Maya climbed into bed. Can you sing the one about coming home? He sat on her quilt, voice rough from the day. I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Wrong season, but Maya didn't care. She hummed along, eyes already heavy, one hand holding her blue crayon drawing from yesterday. Safe. Even now, even with everything threatening to break apart, she felt safe with him. That had to count for something. It had to be enough. 2 evenings later, the lighthouse stood tall against a darkening sky, its base wrapped in strings of lights that swayed with the salt breeze. Tables borrowed from 3 different churches lined the grass, each one heavy with casseroles, pies, and dishes labeled with masking tape and Sharpie, Dottie's mac and cheese, Pastor Lila's tamales, from the Nguyens with love. Ronnie adjusted a seashell centerpiece for the 3rd time. Her realtor friends had arrived that afternoon with boxes of white shells, tea lights, and enough tulle to wrap the entire lighthouse. Stop fussing, her friend Charlotte said. It's perfect. Nothing's perfect. But Ronnie stepped back, surveying their work. The grounds looked magical, professional, like somewhere that mattered. The Mercy Wings helicopter sat on the far lawn, rotors still, doors open for tours. Children climbed in and out while Caleb showed them controls, let them wear his flight helmet. Their parents stood close, wallets already opening. 57 kids so far, Caleb reported to Ethan. That teenager with purple hair is keeping count. Ethan was polishing the helicopter's side panel, already clean but needing something to do with his hands. He wore his only good shirt, the one Maya had picked. His granddaughter was somewhere in the crowd with Pastor Lila, probably eating her weight in cookies. The testimony started at sunset. Mrs. Patterson went first, voice shaking as she described her husband's heart attack on their boat, the Coast Guard too far away, and then the sound of rotors coming over the water. Ethan landed that bird on a sandbar no bigger than my living room. Saved Harold's life. Harold stood beside her, alive, squeezing her hand. Then came the Jeffersons, whose premature twins were flown to Raleigh when the local NICU was full. The Turner boy who'd fallen from the water tower and needed immediate transport. Story after story, each one a life touched, a family kept whole. Commissioner Harlan stood at the back, arms crossed. But when the Turner boy's mother said, "Without mercy, Wings, I'd be visiting a grave instead of tucking in my son," something shifted in his face. His hand moved to his eyes quick, like brushing away dust. Judge Felton took the podium last. "I'm not here officially," he said, getting chuckles, "but I know character when I see it." And tonight character is loud. His eyes found Ethan in the crowd. Some folks measure worth by what you have. I measure it by what you give. This town is rich in the right ways. The music started as full dark settled. Someone had brought speakers and a playlist of old beach songs, the kind everyone knew the words to. Couples danced on the grass. Kids ran between them trailing glow sticks. Maya found Ethan by the dessert table. "Dance with me, Grandpa?" He set down his untouched plate, led her to where the lights were brightest. She stood on his feet like she had when she was smaller, though she was getting too big for it now. They swayed to "Under the Boardwalk," her head against his chest, his hands steady on her small shoulders. "You happy baby girl?" The happiest. Around them the town danced, Mrs. Chen with her husband, Pastor Lila with the fire chief. Even Dottie had grabbed some poor widower, leading him through a two-step that defied physics. Ronnie stood at the edge of it all, holding a glass of punch she hadn't touched. She'd changed outfits 3 times before coming, finally settling on a simple blue dress. Nothing fancy, nothing trying too hard. The song ended. Maya spotted friends from school, ran off to join them. Ethan stood alone for a moment, then walked toward Ronnie. "You did all this?" Not a question. "I made some calls. Others did the real work." "Still?" He held out his hand. "Dance?" Her stomach flipped like she was 16. "I'm not very good at—" "Neither am I." She took his hand, calloused, warm, steady. They found a spot away from the brightest lights where the music was softer. The song was something slow, old, about coming home. "Your friends came through," he said, nodding at the realtors working the donation table. "They're good people. They just needed reminding what mattered." "Like you?" She looked up at him. "Exactly like me." They danced without talking after that. Not close, but not far either, finding a rhythm that worked. Around them, the gala continued. Laughter, testimonies from the heart, children shrieking with joy. The donation jar overflowed onto the table. Someone had started a second one. Near midnight, Chinese lanterns appeared. The purple-haired teenager and her friends handed them out, lighting the small candles inside. One by one they rose into the darkness, carrying wishes or prayers or just hope itself. Maya ran over with her own lantern. "Help me, Grandpa?" They lit it together, Ronnie holding the bottom while Ethan steadied the flame. When they released it, Maya whispered something Ronnie couldn't hear. "What did you wish for?" Ronnie asked. "Can't tell, or it won't come true." They watched the lantern join the others, a constellation of human hope drifting toward the stars. The lighthouse beam swept over them all, catching faces turned skyward. "Maybe things are turning," Ethan whispered, though whether to Maya or himself Ronnie couldn't tell. She stood close enough to hear, far enough to not presume, praying silently that he was right, that grace could lift more than lanterns, that a town's love could outweigh whatever storm was coming. The commissioner hadn't left. Still stood at the back, watching the lanterns rise, his hand over his heart like the anthem was playing. Maybe things were turning. The morning sun hadn't fully cleared the trees when Caleb burst through the hangar doors, laptop clutched to his chest like treasure. "Brooks? Where's Brooks?" Ethan looked up from the pre-flight checklist, grease on his hands. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right." Caleb set the laptop on the workbench, fingers flying across keys. Remember the Sanderson rescue? July 4th weekend? Boating accident. Took him to regional with a crushed rib cage. Know who Sanderson is? Ethan shrugged. Tourist from inland? Commissioner Harlan's brother. Caleb spun the screen around. Security footage, grainy but clear enough. The timestamp read July 4th, 11:47 p.m. There was Ethan, lifting a bloodied man onto the gurney while Caleb worked compression. Hospital security found this while doing their annual review. The commissioner's own brother, Brooks. We saved his brother, and he still tried to shut us down. Ronnie had arrived with coffee and pastries, catching the last words. Show me. They watched it twice more, the commissioner's brother barely breathing, Ethan and Caleb working with practiced precision, the helicopter lifting off into the night. We need Pastor Lila, Ronnie said, and Judge Felton. Now? The church office smelled of old books and fresh coffee. Pastor Lila studied the footage while Judge Felton leaned over her shoulder, reading glasses perched on his nose. This changes things, the judge said quietly. Not his courtroom voice, something more personal. The board can't ignore this. More than the board, Pastor Lila added. This is about conscience. Harlan knew. He had to know. Ronnie already had her phone out, texting her network. Press conference today, 2 o'clock. Give everyone time to spread the word. I don't do press, Ethan said. You do today. She softened. Just be yourself. Tell them what Mercy Wings means. Let them see who you really are. By 2 o'clock, the hangar looked transformed. Ronnie's staging instincts had kicked in. Banners reading, Mercy Wings, Service Above Self, hung behind a simple podium, folding chairs in neat rows, the helicopter gleaming in the background like a promise. The crowd surprised everyone, not just reporters, but families, parents holding children. Mercy Wings had transported elderly folks from the VFW, teenagers with their hand-painted signs. Mrs. Chen had her whole restaurant staff there, still in their aprons. Ethan stood at the podium, hands gripping its edges. The microphone looked foreign to him, like something that might bite. I'm not good at speeches, he started. A few chuckles from the crowd. But people keep asking why we do this, why Mercy Wings matters. He found Maya in the front row, sitting between Ronnie and Pastor Lila. My daughter Rachel died 2 years ago. Car accident on Highway 70. The medevac that came, they did everything right. Perfect response time, perfect care. But sometimes perfect isn't enough. The crowd had gone church quiet. I fly because I know what it's like to wait for help. To pray for rotors in the distance. Every flight we make is for someone's Rachel, someone's brother. His eyes found Commissioner Harlan at the crowd's edge. We don't check bank accounts or voting records, we just fly. Maya stood up, walked to the podium. Ethan lifted her so she could reach the microphone. My grandpa saves people, she said simply, then waved at the cameras with both hands, getting laughs and applause. The questions came fast after that. Ronnie had prepped him, but Ethan answered with his own words. Yes, they'd keep flying as long as allowed. No, they didn't want special treatment, just fair consideration. Yes, the community support meant everything. The security footage played on someone's tablet passed hand to hand through the crowd. Commissioner Harlan's face went from red to white to something gray and tired. That evening, Ethan's kitchen smelled of fried chicken and cornbread. Ronnie had insisted on cooking, though she'd burned the first batch of cornbread and had to start over. Maya set the table with her good behavior, using the plates that matched. This is nice, Maya said, looking between them, like a real family dinner. Ethan and Ronnie caught each other's eyes over her head. They ate and talked and laughed. Maya told jokes from school. Ethan shared stories from his army days, the funny ones that made Caleb look ridiculous. Ronnie admitted she'd never learned to swim, sending Maya into giggles. I'll teach you, Maya promised. In summer, at the lake. Summer. Like this would last that long. After dishes, while Ronnie dried and put away, Ethan carried Maya to bed. She was getting too big for carrying, but neither minded. Her room was simple. A twin bed with a quilt his mother had made, drawings taped to every wall, the blue hearts prominent among them. Will Ronnie stay? She's helping with dishes. No, I mean, stay. He tucked the quilt around her. Sleep now, baby girl. Back in the kitchen, Ronnie had finished the dishes, was wiping down counters that were already clean. She's getting attached, Ethan said softly. Is that bad? Hope is fragile. Don't let her get too used to you. The words landed between them like dropped glass. Ronnie's hand stilled on the counter. You think I'll leave? I think the custody hearing is next week. If I lose her, if Mercy Wings gets shut down... He looked out the window. People leave when things get hard. It's what people do. Your wife didn't leave. She died. No, but others have. He turned back to her. I can't watch Maya lose someone else. Not by choice. Ronnie wanted to promise she'd stay, wanted to swear it. But the words wouldn't come because she wasn't sure herself. Not of her feelings, but of her strength. When things got hard, she'd always run to prettier, easier spaces. She left through the front door, stood on the porch looking at the moon, full and bright, illuminating everything and nothing. Behind her, the house settled into sleep. Ahead, the future waited, fragile as hope, solid as fear. Inside, she could hear Ethan checking locks, turning off lights, going through the motions of a man protecting what little he had left. The moon offered no answers, only light to see by, which sometimes had to be enough. 3 days later, the fog came in like grief, thick, silent, swallowing everything whole. Ethan felt the helicopter more than flew it, every vibration through the stick telling him what his eyes couldn't. Beside him, Caleb held the tablet showing their GPS position, calling out landmarks invisible in the white. Tree line, 2 o'clock. Power lines at 11. Below them, a logging crew waited with their injured foreman. Chainsaw kickback, femoral bleed. 10 minutes by air, 40 by ground through mountain roads. In this fog, neither option looked good. Recording for training purposes, Caleb said, holding up his phone. Standard procedure. Document everything, learn from everything. The landing zone was a cleared patch between pines, marked by road flares that glowed like orange stars in the murk. Ethan brought them down inch by inch, rotor wash, swirling fog into ghostly patterns. 10 feet, 5, 2, the skids touched. Perfect. They loaded the patient fast, got him stable, lifted back into the blindness. The hospital helipad had approach lights, made it easier. The foreman would live. Another save for the books. Caleb uploaded the training video to their secure server, except he missed the toggle, posted it public instead. By lunch, #FogPilot was trending. The comments came like hornets. Reckless and irresponsible. This cowboy should lose his license, putting crews at risk for glory. My tax dollars shouldn't fund this insanity. Armchair pilots who'd never flown through soup. Keyboard warriors who thought Microsoft Flight Simulator made them experts. They dissected every second, found fault in every decision. By 3 o'clock, the FAA called. By 4, the suspension letter arrived. All Mercy Wings operations suspended, pending full safety review, minimum 14 days. Ethan read it twice, then set it down carefully, like it might explode. The news spread through Seabrook faster than the fog had rolled in. Mrs. Dot called from the VFW. She'd heard from her hairdresser, who'd heard from the postman. Pastor Lila texted prayers. The commissioner's office sent nothing. Townspeople who'd tied yellow ribbons now whispered over fences. Maybe it had been reckless. Maybe the board had a point about liability. Maybe. That evening, Ronnie arrived with groceries for dinner, found Ethan on the porch staring at nothing. I heard, she said simply. Whole town has. She started unpacking food in the kitchen. Maya helped, quieter than usual, sensing the weight in the air. They worked in careful silence, washing vegetables, seasoning chicken, setting the table for three. The knock came during grace. Ethan answered it to find a man in a suit that cost more than most people's cars. The Carringtons' attorney, his smirk sharp as his tie clip. "Mr. Sir, Brooks' supplemental filing for Monday's hearing." He handed over the envelope. "The video really makes our case. Reckless behavior, endangering crews, suspended license. Not exactly stable guardian material." The attorney's eyes found Ronnie in the doorway. "Oh, and Ms. Dale's here. Good. Her statement from the church brunch is already in evidence. Losers with kids, wasn't it? Shows the questionable company you keep." He left with leather shoes clicking on the porch boards. Ethan read the papers standing in the doorway, fog drifting past him into the house. Fresh accusations, new angles of attack. His hand stayed steady, but something in his shoulders broke. Dinner tasted like sawdust. Maya pushed food around her plate. Ronnie tried conversation, but it died in the air. Finally, Maya asked to be excused, disappeared into her room. Ethan washed dishes with mechanical precision. Scrub, rinse, dry, scrub, rinse, dry. Each plate handled like it was the last thing holding him together. "Let me help," Ronnie offered. "I've got it." She stood useless in his kitchen, watching him work. The man who danced with her under lighthouse lights had been replaced by someone running on empty. "It's not your fault," she tried. "Isn't it?" He kept washing. "I chose to land in that fog. I chose to let you close. I chose—" The plate in his hands cracked, not dramatically, just a small split down the middle. He stared at it like it held answers. "You should go." "Ethan, she needs stability. I can't risk more chaos." He set the broken plate in the trash, gentle as laying flowers on a grave. "The Carringtons are right about one thing. I'm not good at protecting people, not from the things that really hurt." "That's not true. Rachel died. My wife died. Now I'm losing Maya and Mercy Wings both." He turned finally, eyes empty as the fog outside. "Please go. Before she gets more attached. Before this gets worse." Ronnie wanted to fight, wanted to shake him, make him see, but Maya's door was cracked, little eyes probably watching, little ears definitely listening. So she gathered her purse, touched his shoulder once, felt him flinch, walked out into the fog that had swallowed the stars, the street, everything beyond the next step. Behind her, the porch light stayed on, a small beacon in the thick night, growing smaller with each step away. "Don't let this be the end," she whispered to the fog, to God, to herself. The fog offered no answer, just more white silence, more invisible distance between what was and what might have been. Back in the house, Ethan stood at the sink, hands in cooling water, staring at nothing. In her room, Maya hugged her grandmother's quilt and hummed songs that had no words, only melody falling like soft rain. The next day, Ethan drove Maya to school through streets that felt too quiet. The radio stayed off. Maya's backpack sat between them like a small wall, her drawings tucked inside, the ones she'd been making all week, blue hearts scattered across yellow paper. "Grandpa?" "Yeah, sweetheart? Are you mad at Miss Ronnie?" His hands tightened on the wheel. The morning light cut sharp through the windshield, making him squint. "No, baby. Just complicated grown-up stuff." Maya turned toward the window, her breath fogging the glass. She traced a heart in the condensation, then wiped it away. At the school drop-off, she hugged him longer than usual. Her small arms wrapped tight around his neck, and he breathed in the smell of her strawberry shampoo, the same brand Rachel used to buy. "Love you to the moon," she whispered, and back again. He watched her walk through the school doors, her purple backpack bouncing with each step. A teacher waved. Normal morning, normal life. Except nothing felt normal anymore. The hangar looked wrong with yellow tape across the helicopter's doors. Official FAA seals. Do not operate. Workers from the county had come at dawn, efficient and apologetic. just doing their jobs. Caleb stood beside the grounded bird, his fist connecting with a wooden crate. The crack echoed through the hangar. 20 years flying rescue. His knuckles bled, but he didn't seem to notice. Never had a violation, never even a warning, and now some keyboard warriors who've never touched a collective get us grounded? Easy, Ethan said, but his voice held no conviction. Easy? We've got 3 contracts on hold. The county's already talking about reconsidering options. You know what that means. Ethan knew it meant lawyers, meetings, budget reviews. It meant the Carringtons' money talking louder than community need. The hangar door opened. Ronnie stood there with a casserole dish and thermos, her hair pulled back, wearing the same jeans she'd worn while scrubbing floors. She looked between them, reading the scene. I brought lunch. Thank you. Ethan took the dishes, set them on the workbench. His movements were careful, controlled. But you shouldn't be here. Ethan, The court already has your picture, Ronnie. The words came out flat, matter of fact. From the brunch. The Carringtons' lawyer made sure to include it. Evidence of the unstable environment I'm exposing Maya to. Her face drained of color. I didn't know. I know you didn't. But it doesn't matter what we know. It matters what they can use. Caleb turned away, busying himself with equipment that didn't need checking, giving them space while having nowhere to go. So that's it? Ronnie's voice cracked. I try to help, try to make things right, and you're pushing me away? I'm protecting my granddaughter. From me? From anything they can twist, anyone they can weaponize. He finally looked at her directly, and she saw the exhaustion carved into his face. I can't let Maya be used against me again. Can't give them any more ammunition. The hearing's in 4 days. I know. After that? He picked up a wrench, turned it over in his hands. After that, we'll see what's left to salvage. She stood there another moment, chin lifted, fighting tears. Then she nodded once and walked out. The hangar door closed with a soft click that somehow sounded final. That evening, Ronnie sat at her kitchen table with good stationery, the kind she used for client thank-you notes. But this wasn't for Ethan. Dear Maya, she wrote, I wanted to tell you something important. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes with their words. I made a big mistake, and it hurt your grandpa's feelings. It hurt mine too after, because I learned what a good person he is. How lucky you are to have him. How lucky he is to have you. I'm going to step back for a little while, but I want you to know I'm praying for you every single day. For your blue hearts to stay safe. For your yellow hopes to grow bright. For you and your grandpa to stay together because anyone can see you belong. You were the first person to show me what forgiveness looks like. 8 years old, and you taught a grown woman about grace. I won't forget that. When you gave me that drawing, you gave me more than paper and crayon. You gave me a chance to be better. Keep drawing, sweet girl. Keep singing. Keep being brave. Love and prayers, Miss Ronnie. Pestle blue means safe. I remember. I'll always remember. She drove to their house after dark, porch light casting long shadows. Slid the envelope under the door. Heard footsteps inside but didn't wait. Inside, Ethan found Maya on the floor by the door, the letter spread on her lap. She read aloud in her soft voice, stumbling over some words, sounding out others. Blue means safe, she whispered, and her voice broke on the words. Ethan knelt beside her, folded the letter carefully along its creases. Maya leaned into him, her small body shaking with quiet sobs. Why can't she stay, Grandpa? He didn't have an answer that would make sense to an 8-year-old. Didn't have one that made sense to him either. Just held her while she cried, the letter pressed between them like a promise or a goodbye. Outside, Ronnie's headlights cut through the darkness as she drove away alone. The town disappeared behind her, but she kept driving, needing the motion, the distance. Lord, she whispered to the empty car, don't let this be the last chapter. The house felt wrong without Ronnie's presence. Maya sat at the kitchen table, crayon moving across paper in slow, deliberate strokes. No humming, no chatter about school friends or favorite songs. Just the scratch of wax on paper and the tick of the wall clock. Ethan dried the same plate 3 times, watching her through the window's reflection. She'd eaten 4 bites of dinner, pushed peas around her plate until they formed a frowning face. "Bath time, little bird." She set down her crayon without argument, without anything. Followed him down the hall like a ghost of the child who danced at the lighthouse just days ago. Later, he tucked quilts around her small frame, smoothed back her curls. She clutched Ronnie's letter against her chest, paper already soft from handling. "Grandpa?" "Yeah, baby." "Do people always leave?" The question gutted him. He sat on the bed's edge, chose his words like stepping stones across deep water. "Sometimes people have to step back. Doesn't mean they want to." Mom left. That was different. Mom didn't choose to go, but she's still gone. Maya turned toward the wall, letter crackling against her pajamas. "Everyone goes." He stayed until her breathing evened out, until the letter slipped from her fingers. Then he grabbed his keys, left a note for Mrs. Chen next door, and drove through empty streets. The church stood dark except for the lit cross above the entrance. Ethan climbed the concrete steps, sat on the top one. The stone was cold through his jeans. His hands found each other clasped tight, but no words came, no prayers, just silence pressing down like the fog that had started everything unraveling. "Figured I'd find you here." Pastor Lila settled beside him, 2 coffee cups steaming in her hands. She passed him one without asking if he wanted it. "Mrs." Chen called. "Should have known she would." They sat in comfortable quiet. A moth fluttered against the cross's light, throwing wild shadows. Somewhere in town, a dog barked, normal sounds of a world that kept spinning while his fell apart. "Can't find the words," Ethan finally said. "God doesn't need your words. He knows your heart." "My heart's a mess." Those are his specialty. She sipped her coffee, gazed out at the sleeping town. "You know what I've learned in 40 years of ministry? God's shoulders are broader than ours. He's carried heavier burdens than yours, Ethan Brooks. Feels like I'm losing everything. The program, Maya. Feelings lie sometimes. The hearing's in 3 days. I know. The Carringtons have everything, money, lawyers, that viral video. And you have truth, character. A community that's seen who you really are." She turned to study his profile. "You also have a woman who's fighting for you, even from a distance. Had to protect Maya. By pushing away someone who loves her? Who loves you both?" He stared into his coffee. "You don't understand. They're using her against us. That photo from the brunch is evidence of a woman who made a mistake and owned it, who's shown more growth in 2 weeks than most people manage in a lifetime." Pastor Lila's voice gentled. "Fear makes us do foolish things, Ethan. Makes us build walls when we should be building bridges. I can't risk Maya." "You're risking her heart. It's already breaking." They finished their coffee in silence. When Ethan finally stood, his knees creaked like old hinges. Pastor Lila remained seated, looking up at him. 3 more days, she said. "Then what? You win or lose, and either way, you've taught Maya that love is dangerous, that people who care should be pushed away when things get hard." He had no answer for that, drove home with her words rattling in his chest like loose change. Maya's door stood ajar. He peered in, found her bed empty. Panic flared until he saw her curled in his bed, Ronnie's letter under her pillow, thumb in her mouth like when she was 5 and newly orphaned. He slipped in beside her, fully clothed. She burrowed against him without waking. Her breath was warm against his chest, her hand fisted in his shirt. Morning came gray and tired. Maya picked at toast Drew while he made calls about the hearing. When she passed him heading to the sink, the picture caught his eye. A blue heart, but this one had a jagged crack down its center, black crayon pressed hard enough to tear the paper slightly. "What's this, little bird?" She shrugged. "That's how it feels." "How what feels?" "Safe. It's broken now." His throat closed. He folded the picture carefully, slipped it into his shirt pocket where it sat against his chest, like an accusation. Maya returned to her coloring, working on something new, yellow circles that might have been suns or flowers or hopes too fragile to name. The phone rang, Caleb checking in. Then Judge Felton's clerk, confirming the hearing time. The day ground forward in administrative details while Ethan carried his granddaughter's broken heart in his pocket. He stood at the window, watching clouds build over the ocean. 3 days. 3 days to save everything or lose it all. He pressed his hand to his pocket, felt the folded paper. He'd keep fighting. Had to. But standing in his quiet kitchen, watching Maya color in silence, he realized he didn't know how. Didn't know if fighting was enough when the very act of protection had already broken something precious. The morning stretched ahead, gray and uncertain as the gathering storms. The county courthouse smelled of old wood and lemon polish, its high ceilings catching every whisper. Ethan adjusted Maya's collar for the 3rd time, his hands steady despite the churning in his gut. She'd insisted on wearing her yellow dress, the one Rachel bought her last Easter. The Carringtons swept in like they owned the place. Maybe they did, in ways that mattered. Their attorneys carried leather briefcases that probably cost more than Ethan's truck. Mrs. Carrington's pearls caught the light from tall windows as she settled into her seat without acknowledging him or Maya. Judge Felton entered, robe swishing. The bailiff called them to order. "We're here regarding the emergency petition for custody of Maya Brooks, minor child." Judge Felton's voice filled the room. "I'll hear from the petitioners first." The Carringtons' lead attorney stood smooth as silk. He painted a picture of concerned grandparents, of opportunities and advantages, of private schools and cultural enrichment. Then came the photographs, the viral fog landing, blown up large enough to see Ethan's concentrated expression through the cockpit glass. "Reckless behavior," the attorney said, "endangering not only himself, but leaving a child orphaned should something happen." More photos. The Mercy Wings hangar with its peeling paint, Ethan's modest house, and then Ronnie at the brunch, mouth open mid-sentence, the cruel words captioned beneath, like evidence of the company Ethan kept. "An unstable environment," the attorney concluded, "surrounded by individuals who publicly demean single parents and children." Maya pressed against Ethan's side. He kept his hand on her shoulder, thumb rubbing small circles. His turn came. No attorney, just him standing in his one good suit, speaking plain truth. About serving in Afghanistan, about teaching Rachel to fly, about the promise he made at her hospital bed to keep Maya safe and loved. "I'm not rich," he said simply. "Can't give her pearls or private schools, but I can give her roots, community, the knowledge that service matters more than status." "Mr. Brooks," Judge Felton leaned forward, "the court is concerned about the recent FAA suspension. It's temporary, Your Honor. Under review, that fog landing saved 3 lives. Nevertheless, the courtroom door opened, every head turned. Ronnie stood in the doorway wearing a simple blue dress, no jewelry, no pretense. Her hands shook, but her chin stayed high. "Your Honor," she said, "may I speak?" The Carringtons' attorney jumped up. "Objection! This woman has no standing." "She's in your evidence." Judge Felton nodded at the brunch photo. "I'll hear her." Ronnie walked forward, each step deliberate. She didn't look at Ethan, though he stared at her, startled. She focused on Judge Felton. "My name is Veronica Dale. 2 weeks ago I said something cruel and thoughtless." Her voice cracked, but continued. "I called Ethan Brooks a loser for having a child to raise. Those words were born from my own fear and prejudice. They were wrong." She pulled a folded paper from her pocket. "I wrote this letter to Maya, not knowing if she'd ever read it. "May I?" Judge Felton nodded. Ronnie's hands trembled as she unfolded it. "Dear Maya, I need you to know something important. Blue means safe. You taught me that. But I forgot what safe really means. It's not money or perfect words or fancy things. Safe is someone who shows up when storms come. Safe is hands that work hard and never let go. Safe is your grandfather." Her voice broke completely. She paused, swallowed, continued. "I was wrong about him, wrong about what matters. He's not a loser. He's a hero who chooses love over easy every single day. And you, sweet girl, you're not a burden. You're a blessing. The way you draw blue hearts, the way you see good in people who don't deserve it, like me, that's magical. Don't let anyone tell you different." The courtroom was tomb quiet. Ronnie folded the letter, finally met Ethan's eyes. "I've watched this man for 2 weeks, seen him fly into danger to save strangers, seen him gentle with his granddaughter, seen a whole town rally because they know his worth." She turned back to Judge Felton. "If my stupid, cruel words are being used against him, then let my truth count too. Ethan Brooks is the finest man I've ever known, and Maya belongs with him." She sat down, then one by one, others stood. Caleb first. "I've flown with Ethan for 10 years. Trust him with my life every shift. That fog landing, textbook precision under pressure." Mrs. Chen from the diner. "He brings Maya here every Friday, teaches her to tip well, say thank you, respect working folks." Dorothy Reeves, leaning on her walker. "That man saved my Harold. Flew him to Richmond when the roads were flooded. We'd have lost him without Mercy Wings." Veterans from the VFWW, nurses from the hospital. Pastor Lila. Each testimony brief but powerful, painting a picture of a man whose life was service, whose granddaughter was cherished, whose community would fight for them both. The Carringtons shifted uncomfortably. Their attorney whispered urgently, but Mrs. Carrington's face had changed, something flickering behind the controlled facade. Judge Felton raised his hand. The testimony stopped. "I've heard enough. I'll render my decision shortly." He looked directly at Maya, voice gentling. "Young lady, is there anything you'd like to say?" Maya stood, yellow dress bright as sunshine. "My grandpa teaches me that helping matters more than having. That's why he flies, to help." She looked at the Carringtons. "You could help too if you wanted. We have room." The gavel came down. Court adjourned. Outside, Ethan caught Ronnie's elbow gently. "You came." "Even if my voice shakes," she whispered, "I'll stand for her. For both of you." He nodded. No more words available. Maya slipped her hand into Ronnie's, and they stood together in the courthouse shadow, waiting for judgment. The next afternoon, the courthouse gallery filled past capacity. Veterans stood along the walls, church ladies packed the benches. The Carringtons sat rigid in the front row, their attorney shuffling papers with diminished confidence. Judge Felton entered without ceremony, gavel sharp against wood. "In the matter of custody regarding Maya Brooks, I've reached my decision." Ethan's hands gripped his knees. Beside him, Ronnie fought the urge to reach for him. "The court finds that Maya Brooks is thriving under her grandfather's care. She's loved, stable, and rooted in a community that clearly cherishes them both." He looked at the Carringtons. "Your concerns about Mr. Brooks's occupation and lifestyle reveal more about your prejudices than his fitness as a guardian." Mrs. Carrington's mouth opened, but Judge Felton continued. "Maya is biracial. She needs guardians who celebrate all of who she is, not those who see her identity as something to overcome. Mr. Brooks has demonstrated this. You have not." The gavel rose. "Custody remains with Ethan Brooks. The Carringtons may petition for supervised visitation if, and only if, they demonstrate genuine acceptance of Maya's full heritage and her grandfather's choices, love without conditions, or risk losing her altogether." The gavel fell. The gallery erupted. Veterans whistled. Church ladies dabbed eyes. Maya launched herself into Ethan's arms, and this time he let the tears come. The celebration lasted 30 seconds. Caleb's phone shrieked, then another. Half the room reached for devices simultaneously. "Senior shuttle overturned on Highway 74, Caleb read. 20 aboard. Storms turned it into a lake out there." Ethan set Maya down, already moving. The crowd parted as he and Caleb sprinted for the door. Ronnie grabbed Maya's hand, following. Rain hammered the courthouse steps. Wind bent trees horizontal. They reached the hangar to find 2 FAA inspectors standing beneath the Mercy Wings helicopter, clipboards in hand. "Can't fly," the senior inspector said. "Suspension holds until—" "People are dying." Caleb stepped forward, fists clenched. "Regulations are—" "To hell with regulations." Commissioner Harlan appeared through the rain, suit soaked, face raw. "That shuttle has my neighbor's mother, my dentist's father." "Commissioner, you don't have authority." "I have enough." He pointed at Ethan. "Lift that bird. On my authority, I'll handle the consequences." The inspectors hesitated. Harlan stepped closer, voice dropping. 6 months ago, this man saved my brother. I ignored it, buried it, let politics matter more than lives. Not today." He turned to Ethan. "Fly." Ethan was already climbing into the cockpit. Caleb threw equipment bags aboard. The rotors screamed to life, fighting wind that wanted to tear them apart. "Get inside," Ethan shouted over the noise. Ronnie pulled Maya toward the church, but the girl broke free, running back through the rain. She pressed something into Ethan's hand through the window, her blue paper heart, the one with the crack. "To keep you safe." He tucked it into his vest pocket, nodded once, and lifted off into the gray wall of storm. Inside the church, Ronnie took charge without thinking. "We need soup, blankets. The hospital will overflow. Those seniors will need somewhere warm." Women scattered to the kitchen. Men hauled cots from storage. Maya helped fold blankets, humming softly, the first time in days. The radio crackled from Pastor Lila's office. Caleb's voice, barely audible through static. "Visual on the shuttle. It's bad. Upside down in water." The church fell silent. "Beginning extraction. Need multiple trips." Thunder crashed. Lights flickered. Ronnie found herself praying aloud, others joining, voices weaving together while rain hammered the roof. 20 minutes passed. 30, finally. First load incoming. 5 souls aboard. Heading to hospital, then back. The pattern repeated. Storm reports worsened. Highway 74 was completely flooded now. No ambulances could reach the scene. Only Mercy Wings. "Third run, 7 more aboard. Ethan's fighting crosswinds, something fierce." Mrs. Dottie Reeves gripped her rosary. "That's 19. 1 more still out there. Last one's pinned. Fire department's trying to cut him free. Got him. Coming back. Full boat." The final flight took forever. Radio contact cut in and out. The storm's eye wall approached, winds gusting past safe limits. Then, through the rain, the thrum of rotors. The entire town poured from the church, standing in the storm, as landing lights pierced the darkness. The helicopter touched down hard, but intact. Ethan emerged carrying an elderly man, while Caleb supported another. The crowd erupted. Not polite applause, raw, grateful cheering that fought the wind. Veterans saluted. The commissioner stood among them, tears mixing with rain. Maya broke from Ronnie's grip, splashing through puddles. Ethan caught her, lifted her, and she whispered against his ear, "Blue means safe again." Over her shoulder, Ethan's eyes found Ronnie. She stood soaked, makeup running, designer clothes ruined, radiant with something that had nothing to do with appearance. 20 souls, Caleb announced to the crowd, every last one breathing. The FAA inspector stood at the hangar edge, clipboards forgotten in the rain. The senior inspector looked at his partner, then deliberately tore the suspension notice in half, letting the pieces scatter in the wind. Pastor Lila raised her voice. "Church is open. Soup's hot. Let's take care of our own." The crowd moved toward warmth and light, Ethan still carrying Maya, Ronnie beside them. As they reached the church doors, Mrs. Carrington stood there, mascara streaking her pale cheeks. "Mr. Brooks," she said quietly. I was wrong." Ethan paused, studying her. Maya looked between them, then held out her small hand. "You can help too, if you want." The morning after the storm broke clear and brilliant, as if the sky had been washed clean. Puddles reflected clouds that drifted lazy and white, nothing like yesterday's violence. At the Mercy Wings helipad, folks arrived early. Veterans straightened their caps. Church ladies smoothed their Sunday dresses. Children clutched handmade cards decorated with crayon helicopters. Maya wore her yellow dress, the one with daisies on the pockets. She held tight to Ethan's hand on one side, Ronnie's on the other. They stood before something new, a small garden where yesterday there had been only concrete. Blue benches formed a circle around fresh-planted flower beds. Yellow daisies nodded in the breeze, their faces turned toward the sun. A simple stone marker stood at the center. Pastor Lila stepped forward, voice carrying across the gathered crowd. "We dedicate this space to Rachel Brooks, who left us too soon, but whose spirit lives on in the lives her father saves, and in the granddaughter who carries her smile." Ethan's jaw tightened. Maya pressed closer to his side. "The Rachel Brooks Garden," Pastor Lila continued, "will be a place of rest for families waiting, hope for those who serve, and reminder that from loss can grow beauty." Maya pulled something from her pocket, the blue paper heart with the crack down its middle, carefully taped back together. She knelt by the marker, placed it there, weighted with a small stone. "So Mama can see it from heaven," she whispered. Ronnie's breath caught. She felt Ethan's hand tremble in hers, squeezed harder. Commissioner Harlan cleared his throat, stepped forward with papers that bore official seals. "Yesterday reminded me what matters. Not noise complaints, not politics, people." He handed Ethan the documents. 20-year lease renewal for Mercy Wings, unanimous board approval, and this check, emergency funding to upgrade your equipment. Applause rippled through the crowd. Someone whistled. Mrs. Dottie shouted, "About time!" Judge Felton came next, carrying a framed certificate. "The County of Seabrook hereby recognizes Ethan Brooks and Mercy Wings for extraordinary service to our community. This honor is long overdue." More cheers. Ethan stood still, overwhelmed, until Maya tugged his sleeve. "You gotta say something, Pop." He looked across the faces. Neighbors, veterans, folks whose lives had intersected with his in emergency rooms and storm winds. His voice came quiet but steady. "My daughter Rachel believed in helping, simple as that. When we lost her—" He paused, gathering himself. "Maya and I found purpose in continuing her belief. But we didn't do it alone. You painted our hangar, fed our crew, stood up when it mattered. This garden isn't just for Rachel, it's for all of us." Movement at the crowd's edge caught attention. The Carringtons approached, looking nothing like the polished couple from court. Mr. Carrington carried a worn picnic basket. Mrs. Carrington's hands shook slightly. They stopped a respectful distance away. Mrs. Carrington spoke first. "We brought lunch. Fried chicken, potato salad. Maya's mother's recipe. We saved it all these years." Her voice cracked. "We'd like to share it, if you'll have us." The crowd held its breath. Maya looked up at Ethan, who nodded slowly. The little girl walked over, took Mrs. Carrington's free hand. "Mama would like that. She always said food tastes better shared." Mrs. Carrington's composure crumbled. She knelt, gathering Maya carefully, whispering apologies that got lost in tears, but not in meaning. Blankets appeared. Food multiplied. Everyone had brought something. The memorial became a feast, spreading across the grass. Veterans swapped stories with teenagers. Church ladies taught Maya to braid daisy chains. The Carringtons sat quietly, learning to listen. Ronnie stood apart for a moment, watching Ethan help Caleb check the helicopter. She thought about that first terrible morning, her cruel words that had started everything. How strange that breaking something so badly could lead to this. Ethan noticed her watching, walked over. His hands were steady now, calloused and sure. "You're thinking too loud," he said softly. "I once said I don't date losers with kids." The words came out rough. "I was blind. You're no loser. You're a hero with a family." He studied her face, that quiet way he had of really seeing. Heroes are just folks doing what needs doing. He reached up, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. But families are people who show up, who stay, even when staying is hard. I want to stay. I know. How, Mum? He smiled then, eyes crinkling, some of yesterday's exhaustion lifting. Because you're here. After everything, still here. His voice dropped. We love women who tell the truth and stay. Above them, a medical helicopter passed over, not Mercy Wings, but another service heading to another emergency. Everyone paused, looked up, understanding now what that sound meant. Not noise, not disruption. Hope. Maya ran over, daisy chain crooked on her head, grabbing both their hands. "Come see!" Mrs. Dottie brought a cake shaped like a helicopter, and it's blue and yellow. They let her pull them toward the celebration. Around them, Seabrook continued what it had learned to do, taking care of its own, lifting what had fallen, finding light after storms. The garden held them all, the blue benches strong enough for waiting, the yellow flowers bright enough for hope, and in the center, a little girl's mended heart, proving broken things could still be beautiful. The fellowship hall glowed warm against the evening, every table covered in mismatched dishes, green bean casseroles next to Korean bulgogi, cornbread beside empanadas. The whole town had come, it seemed, filling the space with chatter and the clink of serving spoons. Mrs. Eleanor Briggs stood near the podium, oxygen tank at her side, voice strong despite yesterday's ordeal. When that shuttle flipped, I thought, well, Lord, if this is it, at least I'm wearing clean underwear. Laughter rippled through the crowd. But then I heard them rotors. Saw Ethan's face through the rain, realized the Lord wasn't done with me yet. Other survivors shared their pieces, Mr. Harrison describing Caleb's steady hands, Mrs. Chen tearfully thanking the crew. Each story wove into the larger truth. Mercy Wings wasn't just a service. It was a lifeline. The children's choir assembled, their voices high and sweet on Amazing Grace. Maya stood in the front row, blue dress swaying as she sang. When they finished, she broke from the group, running to Ronnie with a folded paper. I made this for you. Ronnie unfolded it carefully. A crayon house with smoke curling from the chimney, a helicopter hovering protectively above, 3 figures in the yard, a tall man, a woman with yellow hair, a small girl between them, all holding hands. The sun above them split perfectly down the middle, one half blue, the other yellow. The tears came before Ronnie could stop them. Real tears, not the careful kind she'd learned to control at closings and cocktail parties. Is that us? Maya nodded solemnly. Family. See, I wrote it at the bottom. There in careful 8-year-old letters, my family. Ronnie pulled the girl close, not caring who saw her mascara run. Over Maya's head, she met Ethan's eyes. He stood by the coffee urn watching with that quiet intensity. Pastor Lila nudged him forward. He cleared his throat at the microphone. Y'all have heard enough speeches from me. Just want to say thank you for fighting for Mercy Wings, for standing by Maya and me, for showing us that family isn't just blood, it's choice. It's showing up. He paused, found Ronnie in the crowd. It's learning to trust again when trust seems impossible. The applause swelled. Ethan stepped away from the podium, worked through the crowd to Ronnie. His hand found her elbow, gentle pressure. Come outside a minute? They slipped through the side door into the cooling evening. Cricket song rose from the grass. Stars were just beginning to pierce the darkening sky. Ethan shoved his hands in his pockets that tell he had when wrestling with words. Need to say something straight. We're not rich. This life, it's call-outs at 3 in the morning. It's Maya's nightmares about losing me, too. It's government paperwork and fuel costs and praying the helicopter holds together another year. Ronnie touched his arm, stopping him. I've had everything money can buy. The house on the water. The car that cost more than some people's years. Designer everything. She looked back through the window at Maya, who was teaching the Carringtons a clapping game. What I never had was this. Never had belonging, never had someone's granddaughter draw me into their family with a 50-cent box of crayons. It's not easy. Easy is overrated. Easy left me alone in a staged house, insulting good people because I was terrified they'd see how empty I was inside. The distant thrum of rotors interrupted. They looked up as the Mercy Wings helicopter rose from the helipad, Caleb at the controls for the evening shift. The landing lights glowed against the purple sky, blue on one side, yellow on the other. Someone had reprogrammed them during the celebration. Blue and yellow, Ethan murmured. Safe and hope. Maya's teaching the whole town her language. The church door burst open. Maya tumbled out, chasing fireflies that blinked like tiny stars. Her laughter rang across the lawn, pure and unguarded. The Carringtons followed slowly, Mrs. Carrington holding a jar with holes poked in the lid. "Don't go too far, baby," Ethan called. "I won't pop. Mrs. C is helping me catch them." Strange to see it. The woman who'd tried to take Maya now holding her firefly jar, learning to be a grandmother without conditions. Ethan took Ronnie's hand, laced their fingers together. His palm was rough, working hands that had pulled people from wreckage, held his granddaughter through grief, rebuilt a life from ashes. They walked slowly, following Maya's zigzag path across the lawn. Inside the fellowship hall, someone had started the piano. Voices rose in harmony, not perfect, but real. "I used to think helicopters were about status," Ronnie said. "Rich people's toys. Now I hear rotors and think about Mrs. Briggs getting another chance to embarrass her grandkids. About you coming home safe to Maya. What else do you think about? Second chances. How I nearly missed this because I was too proud to see what mattered." Maya ran back to them, jar glowing with captured light. She wedged herself between them, taking both their hands. "Look, 7 fireflies. That's good luck, right?" "The best," Ethan agreed. They stood there, the 3 of them, while the helicopter circled back toward the hospital. Its lights painted blue and yellow streaks across the dark. Inside the church, the singing continued. The Carringtons sat on the fellowship hall steps, learning to wait, to watch, to appreciate without possessing. Ronnie looked up at the vast Carolina sky, whispered soft enough that only the wind heard, "Lord, thank you for second chances." The rotors faded into distance, but their sound lingered. Not disruption, but promise. Not ending, but beginning. Tomorrow would bring more flights, more rescues, more chances to lift what had fallen. Tonight, though, they had this. A jar of fireflies, a child's laughter, 2 wounded hearts learning to trust, and a town that had remembered how to rise. If you enjoyed the story, I handpicked this next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.